Now I give immediately the floor to Mrs. Cecilia Attard Pirotta, Deputy Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, let me express my pleasure in being here and also express my thanks to the organizers of this conference for having invited me to represent the Secretariat of the Union for the Mediterranean during this conference. I have to confess that it was indeed a learning experience, and I will share with you some of my conclusions following these 2 days or day and a half of exchanges that we have had. Let me first of all remind everybody that this year marks the 100th anniversary of International Women's Day. And I think we can really say that through the significant and tireless actions of women in the region, I think we have and we will leave an indelible mark on this year. I think women have been protagonists shoulder to shoulder with men, standing up for change, for their rights, and for opportunities. They have indeed been the makers of history and part of a process that will help shape their future and that of their children. Today, when we speak of the southern Mediterranean, we invariably refer to the Arab Spring, the revolutions that have transformed the region and moved us with the power that they transmitted through the media over the past 9 months. I think the very short shots we showed this morning were but a taste of what we have been seeing over the past months. Yet I feel, and I have to confess, after listening to a number of interventions since yesterday, that I feel that there are crucial elements in these uprisings which have been largely overlooked. There are, to my mind, still a number of untold stories. Stories about the remarkable role played by women who were indeed at the forefront of these events. Clearly, I feel that this is not, and these are not just stories about bravery and boldness, but I think there are also stories of fear. Indeed, I would dare to add that as these heroic women look to the future, they worry that on the road leading to change, their rights might be disregarded. They fear that notwithstanding having been central participants in effecting change, they will be marginalized from its benefits. Now, throughout this conference, we have heard how women can indeed be agents of change. Equally important, I think, is how such change can be brought about. What conditions need to be in place? Why do we need the change? In other words, what needs to be done to increase women's potential to ensure that women remain central agents for change? That they no longer operate from the fringes of society, but become a fulcrum to the development of their societies. Now, acknowledging that balancing the scales remains crucial in bringing about change, I think it follows that increasing women's empowerment remains essential to reaching this objective. Experience has in fact shown that when the specific needs and the constraints of both men and women are taken into consideration in development activities and when concrete opportunities are provided to women, women can become a powerful force in transforming their own lives, those of their families, and those of their communities. And I feel that there are issues which are vital for addressing structural inequalities and for the realization of women's potential as agents of change, such as, for example, increasing women's access to control over and benefit from basic assets, ensure women's full participation in community affairs, as well as in political movements. At the core of this issue are two issues, that of power and policy, and the extent to which women can use their skills to contribute and influence the structures that yield power and make policy. Learning how to address these two factors is key to bring about equality, sustainable development, and an effective and sustainable change to society. Moreover, opening avenues for women's representational role in decision-making bodies implies facilitating the right of association and expression, building awareness of women's rights, questioning gender stereotypes, and facilitating women's participation in society. In this regard, I remain of the firm belief that the role of national human rights organizations are and can be agents for change, and indeed they can very often be crucial. Let me underline what was mentioned yesterday by Minister Frattini, that human rights, including economic and social rights, are everybody's rights. They are inalienable to both men and women and are not up for negotiation. In line with the strain of thought, I will reiterate what I said yesterday, that we should all, men and women, seek to be agents of change, thus ensuring that the rights of all in our respective countries and communities are respected. And this leads me to conclude that until we have greater equality between men and women in the home, we will not see it happening in the workplace and in society at large. There is a simple saying in English: it takes two to tango. Women cannot gain empowerment without men's support. I would further highlight that the involvement of other actors, as well as the introduction of certain measures, would provide women with real opportunities to act as agents of change. In this respect, I would mention, without going into detail because of time constraints, the importance and the involvement of governments, the role of women in politics, the role of the media, the importance and the involvement of civil society, education, and of course, work-family balance. Now, the Secretariat of the Union for the Mediterranean will continue to focus on women issues. I would rather say gender issues, but I think one cannot ignore the fact that there needs to be a focus on women in an effort to achieve the longer-term goal of gender equality. This issue of women in the Mediterranean, needless to say, has gained new focus and impetus in the wake of the Arab Spring. Never have we witnessed such an impact by women in bringing about such radical changes. Whilst acknowledging that there have been positive developments, we have to acknowledge that there remain considerable challenges to women's meaningful, full, and sustained engagement in society. And while no ideal environment currently exists to jumpstart the advancement of women, there are certain conditions that would create an environment conducive to change. Let me here also stress that what I envisage is to create a model, is to have a situation that would allow those who wish to gain empowerment to be able to do so. In saying so, I remain of the firm opinion that those of us who wish to remain just family carers should be allowed to do so. Their contribution to society is equally invaluable. I too have to state that education and universities have a significant role to play in promoting gender equality, which we all agree has a direct impact on bringing about change. This is why, in taking forward its first project on women, the Secretariat for the Union of the Mediterranean has focused on the link between women, universities, and entrepreneurship. In this sense, I feel that women in the region have also been greatly aided, not only by advances in education, but equally so, as stated yesterday by the Deputy Secretary General of the Council of Europe, by prominent women anchors on satellite television, networks, the use of internet, and other social networks. Women can indeed prove to be agents of change via the use of technology, possibly allowing them also to assume a more prominent role, a leadership role, that was probably next to impossible to assume in the city's squares. Mr. Chairman, I will end my intervention by quoting the UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who said during one of his recent visits to Tunisia, "Women represent half the population. They hold up half the sky and should have their fair share in making the decisions that affect their lives and their countries." I thank you very much.